After 47 seasons in the NBA, the Denver Nuggets are finally champions. Jokic had one of the best runs in postseason history, and Murray, Gordon both stepped up. What a team.
Yeah, this team was unbelievable. They weren't built overnight, though. We see so many NBA teams, they try to throw it together quickly with free agency and trades, but this Denver Nuggets team, they were built the right way.
Before we start talking about how the Denver Nuggets built a championship team, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. So this whole story starts in 2014 during the NBA draft. A Taco Bell commercial was airing.
This is a villain origin story.
It really is.
For an NBA player drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. We're talking about Jokic, in case you don't know. The current best player in the world was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial.
Hey, to be fair, the quesarito.
Oh, it's so good.
That shit was good.
It is so good, but it's still disrespectful.
Yeah, and apparently he was asleep during it. He's like, I don't even care, whatever. But what an all-time draft for the Nuggets. Obviously, maybe the best draft pick ever. You get Jokic in the second round. You pick up Nurkic with the 16th pick, and then Gary Harris with the 19th pick. Solid starting players, and this might be the best draft day by a team ever.
I mean, if you throw out, like, the Bulls taking Mike.
Yeah, if you, or like LeBron
and the Cavs
going
taking
first.
LeBron, yeah. If you throw those out, like, the best pick outside of the top 10, top 15, absolutely.
Yeah. The thing about this season, though, Jokic didn't come over immediately. He spent the whole year playing in Serbia. He actually won the MVP there. And this was not the best year for the Nuggets. They actually traded maybe their best player, Aaron Aflalo, to the Blazers. We really thought we were going to win a title with him.
That trade was a disaster for us.
Yeah, actually a great trade for the Nuggets. You dump off Aaron Aflalo, you get Will Barton, who he was a decent player for them, and then you get a 2016 first-round pick, so...
All for a guy that played like 30 games for us.
Yeah, exactly. They fired Brian Shaw because they were 20 and 39 at the time. They put Melvin Hunt at interim, finished 30 and 52. Again, just not a good season. They were 12th in the West, and they really didn't have a clear direction. Like, they had Ty Lawson, they had Wilson Chandler, they had Kenneth Faried. It was just kind of like, what is this team doing?
Yeah, that's a nothing team right there.
In the offseason, though, the Denver Nuggets pick up another foundation piece for their team, Mike Malone. What a head coaching hire.
Oh, one of the best, most underrated coaches in the entire NBA. Like, I know people are arguing, like, is he top 5? Is he not? Like, Mike Malone's a top 5 coach in the NBA.
And the Kings, they got their guy. Like, Mike Brown, he's doing a great job, but that was not a good decision getting rid of Mike Malone.
No, terrible decision. But it's the, early 2010 Sacramento Kings and terrible decisions, peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of bad decisions, the Nuggets this offseason take Emmanuel Mudiay with the 7th pick.
Emmanuel Mudiay showed promise his rookie year. I don't want to act like this was completely without merit. Like, he looked all right in his first year and then fell off a cliff.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
They decided Emmanuel Mudiay is the guy, so, like, we're sending Ty Lawson out. He goes to Houston. And this is the first year that Jokic played, and he had a damn good rookie year. He was 3rd in Rookie of the Year, first team all-rookie, averaged 10 and 7, not like eye-popping numbers, but for a second-round pick, we found a diamond in the rough here.
That's as good as you can expect from a second-round pick. I mean, second-round picks are good if they even just play.
The problem is, though, they were still kind of stuck in that, like, weird limbo, like, what is this team doing? They finished 10th in the West. They had Gallinari, Gary Harris, Emmanuel Mudiay were their stars this season, or they're good players, I guess,
those
this
aren't
season.
stars.
Yeah, it's not stars at all. So it was like, you got some decent young players. You got Mudiay, Gary Harris, you got Jokic now, but still it was like, you had Gallinari, you had Faried. Still didn't really understand what they were doing.
Still holding on to that one team that won 57 games.
Yeah, really.
And lost to the Warriors in the first round.
And then in the offseason, kind of weird, they take Jamal Murray 7, you have Mudiay, and you draft a point guard. I don't really know why they did that, but funny thing about this, they got this pick from a pick swap from the Knicks that originally came from the Carmelo Anthony trade.
Oh, brother. Then, in hindsight, that was a terrible trade for the Knicks.
Yeah, it was completely awful. They could have just waited to get Melo, but they're like, nah, we got to get him down.
Let's trade half our roster.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do know why they took Jamal Murray, because they realized Emmanuel Mudiay sucked.
Yeah, they're like, this guy ain't the move. We got to get a different point guard in here quick. Also got Juan Hernan-Gomez, 15th pick, and Malik Beasley. So again, got some decent quality players in the first round.
Another just draft where you pick up a star and then you pick up like 2 decent role players.
So it was kind of tough to judge how good they were going to be. They had some decent veterans, some decent young guys, but they at least had some promise going to the 2016-2017 season. And this season, Blazer fans at least remember it because they were battling us for the A seed at the end of the year. They sent us Nurkic. We were like, okay, we'll send out Mason Plumlee, get a first-round pick and Nurkic.
Yeah, this was a terrible trade for Denver.
It was.
Now, I get why they made the trade, because they had Nurkic and they had Jokic, and they're like, we're going to commit to Jokic as our big man of the future. They couldn't have sent us Jokic instead. That would have been so great.
Clearly they understood that.
Oh, they knew.
Yeah, we
they
didn't
knew.
send Jokic out.
But in hindsight, even still was a bad trade. You get a worse player back and you send out a first round pick. So not a great trade. And also I remember this year because I remember the preseason hype around the Nuggets was actually kind of there.
It was.
There was a lot of people like, oh, the Nuggets are going to be the surprise team in the West. And like, they were better than they were before, but they weren't a playoff team like I think a lot of people expected they'd be.
Yeah, they got close. I remember specifically, Russ won the MVP on a night in Denver. He hit this just deep as hell 3 that eliminated the Nuggets from the playoffs, and I think it basically sealed Russ's MVP. And I was hyped because the Blazers were making the playoffs, but we played the Warriors. That was 2017 Prime Warriors. Not really even like a good thing to make the playoffs that year.
We got 2 extra home games, so I'm fine with it.
We got to go to a playoff game.
Exactly,
sure.
yeah.
The problem is, though, the Nuggets did not capitalize on their pick. Well, originally they did. They drafted Donovan Mitchell with 13th pick. Amazing pick, but then you trade him for Trey Lyles in the 24th pick, where you select Tyler London.
Who?
Exactly.
Who is I know Trey Lyles, because I think he's still in the league, and I remember him at Kentucky. Like, he was at least a prospect.
Yeah.
Who the hell is Tyler London?
Well, he played 26 games with the Nuggets, and he averaged 0.9 points a game.
So he's about as far away from Donovan Mitchell as humanly possible.
So yeah, that's one of their rare big mess ups in this era, but even then, they're so good at drafting for some reason. They get Monte Morris, another solid NBA player in the second round. Like, who in their scouting department is just finding all these guys?
I don't know, but Blazers gotta hire him.
Gotta get that man. And this was finally the year where they decided we're ditching all the remnants from that old team that made the playoffs. We're sending Gallinari to the Clippers. They just dumped him off, got a second round pick. And they signed Paul Millsap to a 3-year, $90 million deal, which is a lot of money, but Paul Millsap, he fit with Jokic perfectly.
I was gonna say, this contract looked terrible when they first signed it, and as it went on, it was like, okay, this contract is still not great, but it got better with time, you know?
Yeah. Well, Paul Millsap, he's a great defender, and he can kind of stretch the floor. At least he can play well with Jokic. Like, he's a mobile big that can move, so it made sense. It worked. They weren't really going to spend that cap money on anyone else, so like, might as well.
Yeah, the contract, like Paul Millsap, aged gracefully.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the year where the Nuggets had a ton of hype. I mean, we were still hating as Blazer fans because this is like the 3rd year in a row we had heard, oh, the Nuggets are making the playoffs this year. Like, this is their year.
Spoiler alert, they didn't make the playoffs.
They did not make the playoffs. They sent out Emmanuel Mudiay. They're like, this dude ain't it. This is the start of the Jamal Murray-Jokic partnership. You had Jokic, who averaged 18.5 and 10. Murray got 16.5. And they were so close to making the playoffs. They lost to the Timberwolves in the OG play-in game.
Very last day of the season, winner got the 8th seed, and you go down to the Wolves.
I mean, that was playoff Jimmy Wolves. That's a different Wolves, you know?
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough, exactly.
Playoff Jimmy in the regular season, though?
I mean...
Play-in Jimmy.
Yeah, it was like play-in Jimmy. This is the first version of play-in Jimmy that ever existed. Speaking of drafting players, just getting amazing players in the draft, Michael Porter Jr. with the 14th pick.
Okay, this is less about them being great at drafting and the 10 teams above them just being stupid.
Well, you don't think Kevin Knox should have gone above him?
No.
Exactly.
Kevin Knox is on the Blazers right now, and I love that he gives effort when he plays, but he's not good at basketball.
Yeah, I can't believe he fell this far. I know, like, the back injuries, the injury concerns.
But he's not worth a flyer with the 10th pick.
He was the #1 prospect. We'd heard about this guy for like 3 years. Just draft him at like 9 or 10. It's worth the risk. Sent out Kenneth Faried, and then they re-signed Jokic. They're like, we got to lock this man up. A 5-year, $146 million deal. And he hadn't even been on an all-star team before this.
And that's the biggest bargain in the league right now.
That was such a good signing. Credit to the Nuggets for just understanding this dude Jokic would be, I don't think they'd expect he'd be this good, but they at least believed in him, knew he would be an all-star level player.
If you find someone who says that they believe that Jokic would be a 2-time MVP at this point, I'll show you a liar.
Exactly. Like you were saying, this was their breakout year. 54 wins, second seed in the West, first time they made the playoffs since 2013. Jokic was an all-star for the first time. He was first team All-NBA. Murray averaged 18 points a game. Michael Porter Jr. didn't play, but who really cared? They finally were in the playoffs.
And boy, the Spurs with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus took them the distance.
Yeah, that series went 7, and, you know, it's your first time in the playoffs.
Yeah, no shame in that.
Yeah, playoff atmosphere. You're going up against Coach Pop. Like, it's tough. They got the W. That's all that mattered. And we remember this series. They played the Blazers in the next round. Great memories for us.
Oh, phenomenal memories. Game 3, quadruple overtime.
Oh, God.
A game we were at, a game I almost passed out from excitement during. I needed the guy in the row in front of us to revive me off the ground at the end of the third overtime. That game 7, where we went into their house, fell down by 17, lest we forget, and came back and won. Oh, this was a great series.
Yeah, looking back, I honestly would probably even say the Nuggets were the better team, but
I think they outscored us in the series.
Yeah, it was their first run in the playoffs. They were still young and everything. Dame at least had been in the playoffs for years, so we were able to win that series. But I think even us Blazer fans, we still felt like we owned the Nuggets at this point. But
for sure.
Yeah, even us at this point, we're like, okay, this team's coming. Like, this team, give them a couple years, they're going to be dangerous.
Well, see, our mistake was that we believed, okay, the Nuggets aren't going anywhere, but we also thought the Blazers weren't going anywhere. That was our mistake.
So again, they lock up one of their stars, Murray, to a 5-year deal. And then they go out and get Jeremy Grant. He only stayed there for a year, but, you know.
Great trade.
Yeah, honestly, a great trade. They drafted Emmanuel Quickly, sent him to OKC. He got sent to New York.
And Quickly's good, but he's not Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, but Jeremy Grant, you had a guy that can help you kind of contend or get you to the next level. Didn't work out, but not a bad trade at all. And this, again, they built off what they did last year. This is the bubble year, of course. Finished 3rd in the West. Jokic, again, was an all-star, second team All-NBA. But really, everyone remembers this year for the Nuggets. Overcoming 2 3-1 leads in the playoffs.
Okay, that first one against the Jazz was kind of understandable. You're in the bubble. There's voodoo stuff.
Yeah.
Playoff Jamal Murray. Did he have 2 50-point games in this series?
I think he did. At least he had one.
He had one because there was one game where he had 50 and Donovan Mitchell had 50. Just like a classic duel in the bubble. He averaged 31 points for the series. So like you beat the Jazz in the first round. Okay, fine. You know, actually thinking about it, it's probably less shocking that they came back on the Clippers because Doc Rivers just has a habit of doing this.
What was so funny is it's not just they came back from a 3-1 deficit. That's tough enough. The Clippers had double-digit leads in every single one of those games. How do you choke that bad?
Because you're the Clippers.
Yeah.
And choking is just built into your DNA.
And of course, we remember the Paul George corner 3, the wham!
Side of the backboard.
Iconic moment.
The birth of a nickname.
Yeah, that amazing. I love the Nuggets just for that moment at the very least.
Oh, what I love the most is the video that Stephen A posted on Twitter reacting to the game because, you know, of course, he wanted the Lakers and the Clippers.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted the Lakers and the Clippers conference finals. And he's talking to his camera. He's like, I am watching this game and the Nuggets are up by 20. 20! And it's classic.
Then they'd play the Lakers in the conference finals.
And they kind of got stomped out.
Yeah, I mean, they got their revenge this year, but yeah, this season, the Lakers were just the better team.
This was bubble AD and bubble Bron.
Exactly.
Had 4 months off. Like, they were rested and ready to go.
Well, I mean, they had a bit of a chance in the series, but then remember, AD hit that game winner, and that kind of killed them. This was only their second year in the playoffs. I know it's the bubble, it's different, but they didn't quite have the same experience. So, overall, overall a great run. Like, if you're a Nuggets fan, you got to just be hyped after this.
2020 offseason, not the greatest though. We mentioned it earlier. Jeremy Grant just said, I'm out.
Yeah.
And went to Detroit because apparently he wanted to average 20 points per game for a team that, I don't have it in front of me, but probably won, 20 games?
If that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you signed Jermichael Green, Campazzo, Hartenstein. Like, not awful, but no name poppers. Obviously, none of these guys are with the team now, so it was kind of just rounding out the roster. But overall, like, you're still feeling good going to the next season. They were playing super good. They acquired Aaron Gordon, which underrated trade all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a trade for them. They sent out Gary Harris and a first-round pick for a guy who can get you buckets, play good defense, can guard like 1 through 4. That was such a good trade by them.
And I didn't like that trade at the time.
Really?
I was really high on Gary Harris because at the time he was like 15, 16 points per game and he could play good defense.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked Gary Harris at the time. So I understood why they did it. Aaron Gordon was obviously better, but I was like, I don't know, I feel like Gary Harris might have another level. He did not.
Yeah, he definitely did not. So another just great move by the Nuggets, but just devastating for them. Jamal Murray, just a month later, tears his ACL in a game in Golden State. And I mean, that basically, you're not going to win a title with just Jokic. I know Aaron Gordon's decent, but without Jamal Murray, that was basically it for them. But you know, you bring in Austin Rivers. Is that good? Or like, does that give him anything?
Well, he's good when he's playing against the Blazers in the playoffs,
Yeah, exactly.
but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Finished third in the West, though. They still were able to kind of maintain that record. At least, huge bright spot. Michael Porter Jr. had a breakout season. 19 points a game. Still kind of struggled with his health, but he played 61 games.
Oh, gee, it's almost like he was the #1 recruit coming out of college.
Yeah, it turns out he's actually good at basketball. Who would have thought?
Not the Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks were like, nah, this guy ain't gonna be good. Jokic won his first MVP, and that matched him up against the Blazers in the playoffs again. We really thought we were gonna win this series.
We were so confident that we were going to win this series, especially after game 1.
Well, after game 1, I made my amazing proclamation. This is the best Blazer team of all time.
You were serious.
That's one of your worst takes of all time.
Yeah, it is.
That's a terrible take.
Yeah, after game 1, we lost game 2, we lost game 3, we did win game 4, but then we lost game 5. We got a video about that if you want to watch that. And we lost game 6, and Jokic just dominated us. That's exactly what happened.
Oh, yeah. And not only Jokic, Austin Rivers was cooking Dame and CJ on offense.
Even Campazzo was kind of getting some buckets.
Monty Morris was getting buckets.
Yeah, like, we have no guard defense. They were just torching us, and Jokic was just an animal this series. And he was honestly an animal in the series against the Suns, but he had no help.
No, none whatsoever.
And that Suns team, I know we clown on them, but they were good in 2021. That was their year.
Yeah, and going into 2021, like, I'm sure Nuggets fans were still optimistic, like, they're still on the way up, but I feel like they had to be a little bit nervous because Murray's coming off an ACL. At the time, people were saying you're probably not getting him back for the entire year. That's just kind of how late season ACL injuries work. They drafted Bones Highland with the 26th pick, like, fine. Signed Jeff Green, fine, but they lost Paul Millsap to the Nets, who was, obviously big emotional leader for them. And this was a rough year. Michael Porter Jr., it felt like every other week, something was wrong with him. It was his back, it was his heel, something was wrong with him. He only played 9 games, and in the 9 games he did play, he was terrible.
How about Jokic, though? I know you're not a huge fan of this MVP season,
I'm
but
not.
Come on, 27 points a game, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, and he led the NBA in every advanced stat. Go down the list. VORP, Raptor, defensive box plus minus, offensive box plus minus, value replacement player, whatever. Name the stat, he was #1.
Good for him. He didn't deserve MVP.
I don't care, he did.
No.
I will die on that hill.
Not as a 6th seed.
They had Boogie for a bit, though. That was kind of funny and weird. Obviously, that didn't work out, but
That's
they
just
had
one of
him.
those weird mid-season signings you see every once in a while. It's like DeAndre Jordan's on the Nuggets now. It's like, wait, really?
I remember Boogie had like a decent game in one of the playoff games, but overall they got mopped in the playoffs by the Warriors. Jokic again played pretty well, but Warriors team won the title and he had no help.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back years, you get eliminated by, actually 3 straight years, you get eliminated by a team that ends up, at the very least, playing in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, by the team that won the West, so that's pretty tough. And there was a lot of question marks, really about Jokic and kind of about this team going into the next season, because a lot of people, and even myself to an extent, kind of question, can you win a title with Jokic, mainly because of his defense? Nuggets. I know, like, people were criticizing, oh, he was switched out on Curry, he was getting exposed. Like, who isn't?
Exactly, right? Like, half the damn league gets exposed.
Yeah, exactly.
Half the damn guards in the league get exposed.
Yeah, you put a center.
Steph.
But yeah, there was a lot of question marks, and I don't really think many people were picking the Nuggets to win the finals.
No, not
I
at all.
can't think of one person that was. I'm sure one random ass Denver fan was doing it, or some
Who
random
will comment
dude.
on this video? I picked the Nuggets
I
to
had them the
win.
entire time. And again, somehow this team is so good at drafting because they take Christian Brown with the 21st pick. He's got that championship DNA from Kansas, but I didn't even know who this dude was until basically the playoffs.
Oh yeah, when he had the game, was it game 3? Where he was hooping?
Yeah, he was just hooping like crazy.
Hit the dagger in the third quarter, as
Yep,
you
like
said.
I said, he hit that dagger. And overall, this was just an amazing offseason for the Nuggets. Bruce Brown, what a signing. And then you trade Monte Morris and Will Barton for KCP and Ish Smith. Mainly just for KCP, but
Yeah, exactly.
KCP, another veteran. He's won titles. He always plays games. He can hit threes, play defense. What an offseason.
I mean, they picked up like 3 3-and-D guys
Yeah,
in
exactly.
one off season.
They were really the first seed the entire season in the West.
And nobody believed in them.
Nobody believed in them. Like, again, no one was really picking them. Traded Bones Highland, got back Reggie Jackson, kind of just a whatever.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson's barely played the entire season. Thomas Bryant, they picked up, barely played. Jokic, another amazing season, was an MVP finalist. I thought he should have won MVP.
I was fine with Embiid.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's saying now, oh, you couldn't have given it. It's a regular season award, people.
Exactly.
It's a regular season award.
Murray, what a bounce back year for him. Michael Porter Jr. was solid. Aaron Gordon was solid. But I think one of the reasons people kind of were doubting them, they only went 53 and 29. Like, that's not an eye-popping record whatsoever.
It's not, but I mean, even still, I was hearing people say like, oh, Nuggets don't want to see the Lakers in the first round. They don't want to see them in the first round.
Yeah.
Like, if they play the Lakers, it's Lakers in 5. Like, people were going to doubt this team, even if they won 60 games.
Yeah, that's true. And really, outside of that Hawks team or like the Raptors first seeds back in the day, I can't think of another first seed off the top of my head that was this overlooked.
I think the Hawks. No one thought the Hawks had a chance in hell of beating LeBron.
And they were right.
And they were completely right.
But they weren't right here because the Nuggets just straight coasted in the playoffs. The Timberwolves series, that was easy. I know they lost in game 4. I think that game went to overtime. Like Anthony Edwards 8. Sun series, it was tied up 2-2 for a bit.
Yeah, but they smashed them in game 6.
Hey, I called that. Remember on the podcast,
You
I
did
was like,
call
they're
that.
blowing them out.
You did call that.
Then that Lakers series,
Swept them.
yeah, they swept them.
And I was so happy.
Even as me being a huge LeBron fan rooting for the Lakers, they dominated them.
Loved it.
Yeah, and Jokic just, the entire time, no one could stop him. Like, Rudy Gobert, amazing defensive center.
Nope.
8 on him. Ayton?
Nope.
Just made him look small. AD was having the best defensive run by a player in my recent memory.
Nope.
It just feasted on him. Like, what this dude Jokic has done the entire playoffs has been unreal. So now let's talk about the NBA Finals. The Nuggets were obviously, they were big favorites. I can't think of anyone who's picking the Heat.
I certainly didn't.
And in game 1, they just completely blew him out. Jokic and Murray combined for 53. And really the big story of like the entire finals is these Heat role players kind of came back down to earth.
I mean, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent were only going to be dotting your eyes from 3 for so long. Like, you can't rely on that consistently.
Yeah. But then game 2, the Heat, as they often do when everyone counts them out, came back and won in Denver. And a lot of people, including myself, was like, wow, do we have a series now?
I think we both were. We made that 20-minute video
Yeah.
like, don't doubt the Heat. Like, they coming. They're going back to Miami. They got control of this series. Spoiler alert, no, they didn't.
I mean, the main thing is they were able to hold Jokic to only 4 assists. He put up 41 points. But then the next game, Murray and him were both dishing out assists because they each caught 30-point triple-doubles.
First time in NBA history that
Yeah.
a pair of teammates had 30-point triple doubles. Not in the finals, not in the playoffs, just period.
Insane.
Unbelievable.
And the other story from this game, Christian Brown, 15 points on 8 shots.
Like, you can't game plan for that.
No. And it was kind of the same story as game 1. Strus and Vincent just shot like 17 shots and you get 9 points.
Ugh.
So that brought us to game 4. And game 4 for the Heat, it was really a must win.
Absolutely.
They needed to win this game, and they kind of slowed down Jokic and Murray. Jokic and Murray, they were okay, but they weren't dominant. But the story of this game for the Nuggets was Aaron Gordon balling out and Bruce Brown just taking over down the stretch.
This is why depth is so valuable in the modern NBA. Like we saw with the Suns, if KD and Booker didn't score, they were out of luck. Like in this game, Jokic doesn't play great, Murray doesn't play great, but Aaron Gordon gives you 27 and Bruce Brown gives you 21.
So now the closeout game, we thought it was completely done with.
You thought it was completely done
Okay.
with. I said this game would be close.
It was close. It was a lot closer than I expected. The Heat were up for most of this game. They had a 7-point lead at halftime. Kyle Lowry hit 4 threes off the bench. Didn't really shoot well, but hit 4 threes. Bruce Brown had that late tip in though, or that late putback. And Jimmy was not great this game.
It's just a weird game from Jimmy. He seemed weirdly disinterested.
Yeah.
Like kind of like he didn't want to be there. Maybe he was just gassed from his playoff run, but I don't know. Weird game from Jimmy, and God, the Nuggets, they took advantage. Jamal Murray down the stretch hitting some big shots as he always does. Jokic balling out, and I kind of don't feel good for the Nuggets. I don't know. I'm conflicted.
They deserve it at least. Like we talked about this entire video. They built their team like the right way.
Oh, they 100%.
They drafted players. They made smart trades. They signed good role players. Like this is how you build a championship team. So you can't fault them. Just incredible run for the Denver Nuggets.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I hope this marks a turn back towards building teams like that.
Yeah.
Like NBA teams need to stop trying to throw together super teams of free agents and like making these huge trades like to get superstars, because really the past couple of champions have all been built internally.
Yep. And do you think this team's a future dynasty?
I don't know if they're a future dynasty. I definitely think they get one more.
I think so too.
I'm not sure how many more after that, because it is really tough to repeat and win over and over and over. I mean, we're seeing with Milwaukee. People were probably thinking they were going to be a dynasty after they beat Phoenix, and they have not even gotten close to getting back to the NBA Finals. So I definitely think they get one more. And, at that point, dynasty, maybe? Never know.
We'll see.
That's the video, guys. Do you think the Denver Nuggets are a future dynasty? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.